So thank you much. I really do appreciate y'all letting me squeeze in here. I'm going to talk really fast, but we just did some new work here at Chart, and I did want to get the word out. Afterwards, when I go running away, if you guys have any questions come up, please contact me directly. I would be more than happy to get back together with anybody at the end of that. So next slide. I've been the head of our systems division here in Maryland since 1996. So the good news is when this word came out and they said, we want to talk about how we communicate incidents out to other first responders, I had an entire folder of everything we've done since then. So in Maryland, we started as a centralized radio dispatch like a lot of you guys did. And so as technology moved on, we added a separate third-party system to send pages to pagers in 1995. And some of y'all can ask your parents what pagers were and they'll explain it to you. But in very small boxes, it would buzz at your waist and give you a numeric or maybe alphanumeric information. Next, we added a third-party software that allowed us to run it on a PC and page out to pagers, but also to cell phones. It was an exciting year in 1997. 98, we actually, that same third-party software, our operators didn't like having to move between our ATMS and a separate thing to page out. But then we connected it to the departmental email server. So a lot more people were available to get our information, not just those with cell phones, but anybody with email, which was awesome. By 2003, we added a chart chat so we could communicate directly between our centers and our drivers. Wasn't as useful as we would have thought, but the capability was there. By 2008, we realized we needed this notification system to be built into the ATMS. We needed the ability for our operators to be able to put into the event itself who was notified, when they were notified, what were they told, and having that in a separate system made it very difficult for after action report or anything else. So we actually added it into the ATMS, and it's a part of the system now. So whenever we open an event, the system helps recommend who should get the message and what should go out. Still very much text-based at this point. 2009, we added an alerting system so the system could automatically do some notifications based upon certain events or certain device issues like devices being offline. We then added the ability to automatically update event and device information to a 511 website as well as Google ways, trying to get information out to others. Still very much textual based, but information was going out to other third parties. By 2012, we went ahead and made sure all of that could be managed from the ATMS, no matter what part of it is. So there was no longer any third-party systems. Everything was tied into the ATMS, tied into the main database. We could associate things with our call-out list so that as shops and districts changed who was on call, it automatically would know who to page it out to based upon that call-out list, which was built into the ATMS in 2015. By 2017, we added automatic communications to social media, used it for a couple of years with Twitter, till Twitter went a little crazy and kicked all of the governmental forces out. But we did automatically have our system able to tweet for quite some time. And then finally, we got to where we can assign our resources, trucks, cameras, error boards. Everything is in this detailed contact system. So by 2020, we were doing a pretty exciting job of tying everything into the ATMS. Next slide, please. So as the other things above were happening, by the late 2010s, the agency wanted more detailed information from the scene. So they decided when it was safe to do so, field units would actually send a detailed email to regional group. And it had some good points to that. It provided more detail than a notification, which was still based around that 140 characters of text. And it was getting it directly from the horse's mouth, not, the tag game of this is what I thought I heard and it gets slightly changed. But the negatives were pretty severe. The negatives of, is that the best, safest use of a field unit? They're out on the side of the road. Should they be head buried in a laptop? Plus, all of these were back to being separate from the ATMS, making it hard to access when needed. So we added something at the end of last year called Ops Email. Next slide, please. So next, built into it, we realized that we needed a more visually impactful presentation. 140 characters of text just wasn't doing it. Operations wanted it to be tied into the events that they're already working. So we wanted to tie it into their workflow and their SOPs. We wanted to be able to have this tied into the ATMS for that reporting accountability. It can be formalized now in the SOP because it's all part of our software that we controlled. And it completely replaced that narrative operations email where the guy was parked on the side of the road. But what we wanted to do is make sure that we could optimize it for multiple mobile devices. Some of those mobile devices are one type of phone, some are a different type of phone, some are on different services completely. It was a challenge since we wanted to make it graphical, to make the lane diagrams lightweight, fully dynamic, and workable on all platforms. And what we eventually learned was the old ASCII text, which is what HTML was built off of, actually gets the job done. So we created a new infrastructure where we could streamline the recipient selection process. So the other thing we wanted to do is you don't have to sign up for what part you need. It was actually signed. It's currently set up. We just turned it on, and it's currently set up for what is your region of that you're interested in, or you're interested in motor carrier, or what you're interested in. But we built software in there so that we can go ahead and update it so that in the future we could actually use Boolean expressions. So you could say, look for the word school bus anywhere in it, and you get added to the list. Look for Homeland Security anywhere in it, and you're added to the list. So we built that completely in it. To the right is an example of what it looks like. Next slide, please. So if you take a look at it, the enhanced features are there, including a link you can click on, which will take you to Google Map with a traffic layer on. There's a graphical display of the lanes themselves. If you look at this one, there's a place that you can describe load if there's a load on there, and this one was 71,000 pounds of chicken a couple of weeks ago. You can add additional information from the operators. Recovery will begin after 1900 hours, explaining what they know, and it can be, that part can be text-based if you want it to be. Links to our cameras that are on the public website, links to our cameras that are on our private statewide sharing infrastructure. So all of this now goes out, who's on scene, who's been notified, and that gets sent out across email as well as going out to cell phones in that graphical format, as opposed to the right side, which is what it used to look like for that same event when it was 140 characters. So we're pretty excited about it. It hasn't replaced the text-based notification yet. Notification is still live, but at some point we feel like it probably will. It's much more user-friendly, it's much more graphical, and it's much more tied into the system populating it for you and not having an operator have to go out and find it. You can also attach pictures from the field to it so that any pictures from the field can show up on this as well. So we just turned it on in December and just started using it, but we're pretty excited about it. And that is the end of my presentation. Sorry, I've got to run, but if there are any questions or anything comes up, just get those to me and I'll be happy to get back with anybody. We're really excited about it.